episode 30 of the Six Skill Scavengers podcast. Talking about hot toys, Marvel, and Star Wars. I've got my good friends with me, Chris Letty, TC. Guys, I don't know. Episode 30 seems a little like a milestone. I wax poetic a lot on this podcast. It's funny, Chris. Every time, I feel like every 2 weeks it rolls around and we get ready to do another podcast. Like, I've done other podcasts in the past, and sometimes, not that it feels like work, but like this is just like a bunch of friends like hanging out talking about collecting. These are the conversations that we don't get to have face to face with really anybody else. And Steve and the Assemble gang, they do an awesome job about that as well. But I really look forward to these chats, and it's funny, guys, because we have like these. To peel back the Wizard of Oz curtain a little bit here, I mean, we have group chats and stuff going on just so we can, we have the, the admin team. We try to keep up to date. We laugh at the people that don't answer the questions to join our Facebook group, and, just planning for stuff coming up. And then the three of us have a separate one just to talk about the podcast. And it's funny because like we'll end up talking about other stuff throughout the day that it's like not podcast production related, which is fine because I mean we're all a bunch of friends here. But it was funny because Chris, I think you were mentioning that you were listening to Matt and PJ on the most recent Rogue One 6 that they mentioned Chipotle. Excuse me, not Chipotle. God, why am I thinking? I'm thinking your root cellar here with Chipotle. Mentioned Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
God, this is live radio and it stinks. Mentioned Chick-fil-A. And you're like, oh yeah, we've got like, two. We finally got two in New Hampshire. They're like on the border from us. It would take me like 40 minutes to get to one if I wanted to. And the TCU popped in and you're like, guys, like that's like the South right there. That's like the culture. Yeah, so we just started riffing on Chick-fil-A and it was awesome.
Yeah, Chick-fil-A, that's part of the South. It originated in Georgia. So, it's on every corner, every street, and I go there all the time. So I love Chick-fil-A. So I always like to ask the northern people, those who live like above New York, whether or not you guys have them, because I know they're mainly in the South and they go out west a little bit. So it's just good stuff.
Oh yeah, it's a rare bird up here, but it's so good. So good. And it's funny because they're one of my wife's clients too, and so she hears about them every time they're mentioned in the news and all that stuff. But every time I drive by a Chick-fil-A, man, I got to get that spicy chicken sandwich. I love it.
And that Popeyes argument where they're comparing the chicken sandwich from Popeyes versus the one from Chick-fil-A, it's no contest here because it goes beyond the chicken sandwich. It goes into the customer service. You'll drive through. They've got double drive-through lanes at the Chick-fil-A's down here, and you'll think it's like, oh gosh, you go in there and there's like 50 cars ahead of you, but you're out in 5 minutes. So it's like that every time, and every time it's the same customer service. It's amazing.
Making me hungry.
Yeah, good, Chris. Let's head to Nashua right now. There's like two of them we could choose from.
I know.
I think TC can handle the podcast and the rest of the year.
That's right.
So.
Yeah, you, man. I'll give it a go.
All right, guys. That being said, everybody that's on the YouTube stream right now, we've got quite a few people in there already. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. Obviously, you can also hear this on our podcast feed as well. But on the screen, our feature figure review for episode 30 is going to be Shuri from the Black Panther movie, MMS501. Really looking forward to talking about that and just the amazing face sculpt on that one. So we'll get into that in a little bit. We are going to talk about news like we usually do. Guys, I'm looking at our show notes here, and we have like a massive collection update. When you take three of us and you just kind of like mash it all together, like that's what's going on. So we'll try to rip through that fairly shortly, but I'm not going to bury the lead here, guys. And I'm going to talk about it throughout the episode. And I think I caught both of you guys off guard, even though we all chat every day, multiple times a day. Star Wars is back. Star Wars is back, and I am doing some things, but this is going to be a little bit different than last time, and I'm sure Steve is cackling right now because he's like, I never know who's on or off Fontaine Island or what you're doing with all your figures and stuff. Part of me, that's part of the fun is changing my collection around and stuff like that. I actually enjoy that part. Obviously, I keep good figures. Shout out to Zach. Every time I say I'm going to sell a figure, he asks if I'm going to sell my Mark 46. Zach, the answer is no. I am not going to sell that Mark 46. But yeah, so I'll talk about that in the collection update. But guys, let's see if I can do this properly with switching screens here. But obviously, not a lot of us live anywhere near Disneyland or Disney World. And I don't know if you guys have heard, but there's this thing, this small little part of the park they just came out with. It's called Galaxy's Edge. And anyways, bad joke there. But anyways, so hardly any of us have gone. There's several people that are actually lucky enough to work there. And it'd be part of, as a cast member and stuff. But just seeing everybody's reactions and, the photos and everything, it just really makes me want to get there. And as we were talking before we go, TCU and I were talking, it's probably going to be 2021 before I have a chance to go. And it was just kind of bummed. So everybody on the screen here too, I got to give like the most epic shout out to Mario from our group, because he just recently got a annual pass to Disneyland. And if you're not part of our Scavengers community, our private Facebook group, it's kind of hard to understand like the daily just helping each other out. I mean, Chris, you said your friend Justin calls us like the Truman Show group. Yes. It's almost like too good to be true. There's a lot of work that goes behind the scenes there. And Chris, I like to think that way back in episode 0 and 1 that we kind of set the stage for what we wanted our collecting community to be. And it's exploded. I thought we'd have like maybe 10 people at this point, over a year in. And now we're, I think, over 170 members in our Facebook group, which is so small compared to the larger ones. But I would argue that the quality, it's definitely quality over quantity. Anyways, our friend Mario got a season pass to go to Disneyland, and he made a post. He's like, guys, I'm gonna be there, and if anybody's looking for anything, give me a shout and I'll look. So there's these legacy lightsabers, not the ones that you can build in the cantina there, but some of the Luke Skywalker, Ahsoka, I think the Ventress ones. There's a couple different ones that you can get that's already pre-made. And I'm just dying for a Luke Skywalker hilt. And I reached out to him. I said, hey, if you happen to see one, reach out to me. I will compensate you for it in any of your troubles. I'm just not going to make it down to Disney World or Disneyland anytime soon. And I just want one. And they're usually sold out. I know, Chris, you're a huge Ahsoka fan. I know Steve is as well. And the Ahsoka hilts have been so hard to come by. So last night I got a message from Mario and he's like, hey, they got one. I was like, just whatever you want, just let me know. I'm just so appreciative that
triple the price.
Yeah, he could have, and I would have paid it. Sorry, Mario, you probably don't want to hear that now, but it's so awesome to have a community that people are willing to kind of help each other out. I mean, we do this collecting thing because we enjoy it, and it's the camaraderie of collecting and stuff like that. Like, this stuff obviously is cool, but a lot of it is just the day-to-day interactions and stuff like that. So on the screen here, there's the Luke Skywalker Return of the Jedi hilt that Mario picked up for me. And he said he's going to drop that, in the mail in a couple days. I can't wait to display that. I've wanted one for the longest time. And, there's some really high-end replica ones out there. And then obviously you've got like the Hasbro Black Series ones and stuff like that. This was a good happy medium for me, and I can't wait to get this.
Gotta love the group helping everybody out, and it's wonderful to have listeners and fellow members willing to do this sort of thing. And that's a pretty sweet item there, and hopefully an Ahsoka will be in my collection someday. But
this is just one example too. I mean, this happens frequently, this kind of generosity. So this is just the latest example, but the group's awesome, like you guys said.
Yeah, so he's actually out there right now. He's like, I've heard of Galaxy's Edge, and then we've got our buddy Mark out there who's ecstatic that I'm a little bit back into Star Wars now. He said they're going to Disney in March, and there was another one. Oh, shout out to Mike here too. I just said 2021. That's so, Mike. Maybe we'll coordinate, see if we can. I highly doubt we're going to be going at the same time, but I'm really looking forward to to heading there as well. So yeah, I think there's some other like minor note, like Spider-Man Far From Home. I know is hitting digital soon, guys. I think when's the 4K release? The physical, is that in a few weeks from now?
Couple weeks.
Yeah, I think it's October 1st or something like that.
Very cool. So looking forward to that. I only had the chance, I think like both of you guys, I only had the chance to see it once in the theater. So I'm looking forward to, rewatching one of the figures we'll talk about here in a little bit with Mysterio is featured very prominently there. And, I won't cry myself to sleep with all the Spider-Man MCU stuff. I just want to enjoy, a good film.
Yeah, I started it today, watched a little bit, didn't quite get all the way through, but wanted to get a refresher on on the movie because it was so entertaining, and especially with some of the figures we'll talk about here. But yeah, love those Spider-Man movies, man.
All right, let's shift gears to news, and obviously we won't cover this in a lot of detail. I know, Chris, you were able to join the most recent assemble, and Steve and the gang talked about the Mysterio figure. And I just love the enthusiasm that we have on the panel. Usually Allison was like just giddy about the figure. And I honestly, I've been listening back over the last couple, it takes me a couple days to get through some of our marathon content. But, I'm just sitting there, just kind of driving along in my car, really just kind of nodding my head. I'm like, yeah, I totally get it. Just not to bury the lead here, I probably am still not really sure I'm going to get this, but I'm just glad that it's an option out there that people can get a villain, and a really good villain, if that.
Yeah, that's the big thing, is getting those villains. And like Matt has brought up on Rogue One 6, they don't really have that problem with Star Wars because they got to have the light side and the dark side, where Marvel, they've really leaned towards the good guys and girls. So I just love the fact that we're getting a Mysterio. He was teased a couple weeks back, and with some of the promo images for the homemade suit one. And yeah, it just looks like a great figure, detail wise, in the suit and the cape and everything. We got a seam in that dome, but with the coloring in there and the smoke effect, it's not quite as prominent in some of these promo images. But yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah. So TC, this was MMS 556. It's already up for pre-order on Sideshow. It's being listed at $259. So interestingly enough, TC, again, we've got another scenario where they're trying out different things. No NRD on this one, and where the difference this one is versus, I think, the homemade suit. This one actually does have a payment plan option. So I don't know what to make of all this, guys.
Yeah, I don't think they know what they're doing. As far as Sideshow's going, I think it's a great release. Like you said, it's $259 plus shipping. You're going to get that head sculpt. I know Hot Toys previewed the Jake Gyllenhaal head sculpt and then took it down. I think a lot of people think that's a licensing issue. I don't think they got approval to display that head sculpt. So, but it certainly looks like you're going to get the head sculpt, and then obviously all the details on the figure are amazing. The luminous chest piece, it reflects light when it shines on there, and then the cape is amazing. That could be Hot Toys' best cape that they've ever done. If you look at the detail on that, all the patterns on the backside and underside of the cape, and then just the quality on how it seems like it might be wired a bit as well. So
I would think so.
It's a really nice figure, and to me, it's something that puts a cap on that Far From Home figure line. I know having all the Spider-Man is awesome in itself, but just to kind of capture the entire essence of the movie, I think this is a must-have. I'm definitely getting it, and seam or not, I don't care. I think it looks awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's got the light up feature inside the dome too, and that'll be a great effect for those who like to mess around with those lighting effects.
And that base, where it's Hive Studio, I believe, helped create parts of the base. So, that smoke effect, it looks sweet.
Yeah, we got into that on the assemble, talking about adding. It's kind of a normal base, but you've got those elements added to it, which kind of give it the extra effect. So that's nice, and I would like to see Hot Toys kind of trend that way with some of these figures, because it just makes the figure look that much better with the smoke, because that's what Mysterio's all about is the smoke and the illusion. But
Plus, he was a great character in the film. He was a strong character. Jake Gyllenhaal played the character amazingly well, and it deserved a Hot Toys. This wasn't something like a Crossbones or some other like inferior villain, right? Yeah, even like a Yellow Jacket. This is something. This is up there with Thanos as one of the best Marvel villains we've had so far. Maybe Killmonger.
Yeah. Yep. So it's a great release in my opinion.
Yeah, so for those on YouTube right now, we've got the kind of accessories, and this was what was originally available when we were pre-ordering it. And actually, I think this dropped literally, like the luck of our podcast when we record, it's like the next day. There's always something, and it's like, so we're gonna have to go like 13 days without being able to talk about this. But that's why it's great that we've got weekly content with the assemble and stuff. So we'll get a chance to talk about this. And Chris, you mentioned a little bit ago too. It's really nice to have the live function of the podcast now. And I'm trying to do my best. TC, you and I were joking. I'm like, I got the photos up on one monitor. I've got the StreamYard stuff on one, and I've got an iPad in front of me with our show notes. So it's like, so if I ever look like I'm juggling around, I'm trying to do my best here. But yeah, I mean, a lot of these accessories, you guys mentioned the base does look great. So like I said, I'm probably not getting this. I mean, the post got deleted about the head sculpt. I mean, we have speculated, and it's not really confirmed that it could be a licensing issue. I mean, does the presence of the head sculpt? I mean, obviously, it's kind of like a nice to have. I mean, you guys were going to order it without it anyways. To me, it's like, if they're going to throw it in, great. But if there's some reason like Jake Gyllenhaal is just not going to sign off on it, maybe his agent doesn't want to, maybe there's something going on with the Sony license now that there's something to be concerned about with the face sculpts and stuff like that. So, actually take that back. So I know with the stealth suit, you're not getting a full face sculpt. With the updated suit, is there a Tom Holland head sculpt on that one? I can't remember.
Yeah, there's one.
Oh, okay, so strike that hack theory from the records. If we were if this was the old way we did the podcast, Chris, I would actually just chop that out. So I'll just sound like the meathead here, but
no, it's all good. It's a good theory. But yeah,
I mean, the presence of the head sculpt doesn't affect my decision to purchase. It just makes it feel so much more complete as for that price, $259. You get the head sculpt, and then obviously all the great tailoring. It just seems like a much more complete offering. So I would much prefer the head sculpt than not. But I'm still going to get it regardless.
Same.
All right, so guys, I've hacked Mr. Letty's email and showing that on the screen here. But Chris, you got the notification that Spider-Man Scarlet Spider Suit is shipping soon, and next week, the 24th. That's some pretty exciting stuff.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised to get that email, and just gonna make sure I get the money in the account. But no, just kidding. It's from looking at the pictures that you had, and then obviously everybody's promo images and pics on Instagram and everything. I just cannot wait to have that figure in hand. It looks like just another great Spider-Man release, and yeah, it's everybody is going to be getting those. So yeah, we'll check it out. And I don't know if he's going to be a feature figure review down the line, but there's a strong possibility.
I mean, we only review War Machines and Spider-Man,
Yeah,
so
right.
we might as well alternate back to Spider-Man here in a little bit. Yeah, this is TC. Do you got this on the way, or is it coming later?
Yeah. No, I have one payment to make on it, and that hits on the 25th of September, and I might just move it up a couple days, but I do have it, and it'll be shipped, I believe, late next week. So yeah, along with everybody else that has it on order, it should be on the way soon.
So, obviously I shared it. If you go back to episode 29, I talked about my crazy story about winning PJ's waffle for the figure here, and Chris and I read up a little bit more afterwards what a waffle actually meant. It's one way to skirt around Facebook's gambling thing. So, but he does it on Instagram, so it's not really there.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
Yeah,
and then I got that.
I mean, that's what we're here. We're here to learn. I mean, we don't have all the answers or know anything. So the funny thing is when I got back on my Spider-Man kick after I picked up, a used PS4, and I've been playing the heck out of that game. I think I'm up to like 71 or 73% campaign completed, and I'm trying to go for 100. It's so good of a game. So when I went back and I was like, okay, I'm going to re-add the advanced suit, I forgot that I put myself on the wait list for the Scarlet Spider, and then I must have a couple days later won that, the figure, and I've had it in hand, and it's just fantastic. It's probably the best Spider-Man in my collection. I forgot I was on the wait list, and I got an email from Sideshow today saying, hey, it's going to convert if you want. And I'm just like, well, I'd rather make sure, if anything, I'd get in the hands of a scavenger. So, obviously I'm not going to get the second figure. So if anybody was on the wait list and they don't think they're going to get it and they want the figure, reach out to me, reach out in the group, and see if I can work something out. The other thing is if nobody comes, I think I have until maybe Sunday night from the time of this recording to make the decision or not. If nobody's interested, I'm just going to let it expire, and somebody else next on the wait list will be able to get it. I'm just not a huge fan of buying figures to resell them for higher amounts. If I ever own a figure that I decide I want to sell, and the current market price of that dictates that it's going to, end up that I'm going to make some money off it, great. But I don't know. That's not how I go about collecting.
Totally get it, man. Totally get it. Yeah, it's a gamble when you purchase a figure for those reasons. Well,
Yeah, especially short term. You're looking to do like a quick flip. It's not worth it.
Yeah. There's a lot of other people that are planning to do that. So,
yeah, absolutely. So we'll see. Reach out in the comment section here on YouTube, or if you're in the group and you haven't seen my posts yet, that's kind of the scoop. So we didn't even have this in the agenda till this morning, but guys, I actually just added this to the checklist on sixhill-scavengers.com. Shameless plug alert. And we have on screen here, guys, we have the Jawa and EG6 Power Droid. Chris, it's the Gonk Droid.
It is the Gonk Droid, the Power Droid, Gonk, in the Sandcrawler with the, scraps of metal falling off of him and stuff. Yeah, it's pretty sweet. I mean, Jawas and droids like this are just great figures and pieces to add to display, add to your collection. And I'm forgetting who had mentioned in our group that they would like to recreate the scene when they took over R2-D2 in the canyons, and I was like, yeah, that's a pretty sweet scene, but it's probably going to cost you about $25. So,
get like 6 of them carrying them up over the
especially with this configuration, the way that the product, like, what do you guys think about the release? So you have the droid and then the Jawa, but there's no single pack or double pack with 2 Jawas, so you can't really, not army build, but you can't really build that easily.
That's definitely a questionable release choice there.
I mean, I get, sorry to cut you off, Chris, but I kind of see why they did it, because I don't think unless you're Allison, I don't think anyone was going to buy the Gonk Droid separately. I mean, some people would. I know John Martino, quick shout out to him, Tachi Station. He shared a picture in our group of either a custom one or as a sideshow one. So he had, there's other options out there for this. This just happens to be, the first time Hot Toys has, obviously done that. And then the Jawa, to me, like they at least come in pairs. So I think it's rightfully so that people are kind of questioning this a little bit. I think if they were going to do multiple versions of this, we would have seen MMS554 that had these two. We would have seen 555 that would have had two of them, and then maybe like 556 would have been one of them. But I don't know. Like Jawas are obviously, Chris. They're part of the original figure line, the Kenner line there. With the vinyl capes and everything. So people have an affinity for Jawas. To me personally, they're just kind of not necessarily. This is going to sound sacrilegious as a Star Wars fan, but it's just kind of like a throwaway thing. It's a background character. I mean, you teeny. I mean, that's that was a horrible.
That was nice.
Yeah, I didn't even practice that. That was the first one. So I don't know. Like I've seen people in our group and some other groups saying yes, they're going to get it. Others are kind of questioning the price point. I think I saw Nick in our group say, well, if you break it down by per figure, it's not that bad. I mean, they're obviously going to be smaller. They're not going to be a full 6 inch, not like a 6 foot figure. So to scale, they'll be smaller.
The only issue I have is by not offering the single Jawa, to me that hinders a collector from saying, oh, I'm going to buy two. Right. Because then what are you going to do? You're going to have two droids. Like the market for those droids is going to be extremely saturated. No one's going to want it. So you're just going to end up having to overspend to get that second Jawa. I would have liked him to offer a single one. And then that way you can buy the 2-pack and then one more and then you got a complete set. That's it, really.
Yeah, I mean, the figure does look great. I mean, the light up eyes are, I mean, I've always thought they're kind of creepy, but obviously it's going to have some kind of a LED battery in there. It looks like it comes with one of the blasters they use to electric shock R2-D2. I mean, it does. Here's a shot of I think the new R2-D2, the deluxe version that's coming out soon too. And you look at the accessories. I mean, the Jawa has a couple things. I mean, obviously the Gonk Droid is the Gonk Droid. It's got a kind of an interesting base. It looks like you can have them separate and also combined together.
Yeah, Mario's saying that they should there might be, well, he's speculating a single battle damage Jawa as a New York Comic-Con exclusive, which is always a possibility, but I just have a feeling that we'll see either a single pack Jawa or something else down the line. I don't know. I have a feeling.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just kind of highlighting a couple of the comments that are in the Facebook group. I know Mario and Mark, and everybody's like, yeah, it should have been a single or a double pack. Jeff's out there saying, a double pack with the Gronk. There's my New England Patriots Freudian slip here. The Gonk Droid.
He's retired, Brian.
Yeah, I know. The Gronk Droid here. Sorry to bring football in everybody's Hot Toys podcast here.
Yeah, Mike's saying maybe a Jawa R5D4 2-pack, which I've heard that being a rumor as well. So I can see that one making sense, but
I think there's people like R5 more than they like the Gonk Droid.
Yeah.
I think he's a cool droid. I like them, and I like the astromech droids. So
yeah, I think this release will probably be around for a while. I don't think we need to worry about this one selling out anytime soon, but whatever.
All right, just a couple other quick things. I don't have any of the pictures to show for it. Everybody just has to look at our ugly mugs right now. Surprisingly, and I think I have to actually credit I wouldn't say there was like this swell of not necessarily enthusiasm, but when Shuri became available and like it went like low stock and then like waitlist within like an hour. I don't know what it was. TC, I think this is your 7th podcast with us so far. I have given you kudos in our Facebook group. I'm going to officially give you kudos to all of our audio listeners and all the people watching on YouTube right now. You called it, my friend. 3rd time's the charm.
3rd time's a charm, man. It was a good ad on your end, a good purchase. So even though you ate $55 or $54 in NRDs or whatever it was,
it sounds so bad when you say it that way.
But it's not that bad because it's just kind of like you bought it overseas, which I did. So it's not that bad. It's in your collection. That's all that matters, or at least for a week.
So I think it was waitlist open still. It's not waitlist close. I haven't been following Big Bad Toy Store that closely, but I thought also we had a few group members say that despite Sideshow burning through their stock like they were lighting money on fire, that Big Bad Toy Store had actually even shipped out their allotment yet. So there's an opportunity that if anybody might have their figure like in their pile of loot or something and decide that they don't want it, it's not like there's not going to be any figures. And I mean, a lot of people have speculated like this is like potentially the next Yondu. I don't know if it has as broad appeal as Yondu did. I mean, obviously the face sculpt is, as we'll talk about later, it could be on the Yondu level, but I just don't know that swell of. I don't think people didn't pre-order this enough. Like they just kind of skipped Yondu initially. That kind of created that scarcity.
Time will tell. Time will tell.
And we'll be here to talk about it.
A couple other things. Iron Man Mark 46 concept art. The waitlist is full. And also Spider-Punk shipping out about the same time Scarlet Spider is. So got some, things shifting around over at Sideshow and throughout the community.
Yep, that's what's going on. And I mean, Chris, who did I start with? Chris, I'll start with you this time again too. So I thought eventually we were going to have the opportunity to review Spider-Punk on this here podcast. Guys, it's not going to happen.
No,
it's not going to happen.
I had to let that one go.
Yeah, I'll let you guys speak for your own kind of updates of what you got coming up recently. But Chris, I guess I can't really say I blame you, because there's another reason why you've got some very big moving to do here.
We'll discuss here shortly. So I had a Midnight Massacre 2.0, playing off of Bryan's dealings, but I cut a lot of pre-orders. I decided that there was a number of figures that I could live without, and I started with Spider-Punk, and I cut out Tony Stark Quantum Suit, Iron Man Mark 85, the regular release.
That makes me sad.
That hurts.
Yeah, I
hurts
know.
me.
I know. But there's a method to my madness with that one. Iron Man Mark 43, because I decided I'm not going to get a Hulkbuster, and as cool and unique as that particular suit is, I just decided that I'm not going complete on the Iron Man diecast figures, and I don't know.
It's not as good of a figure as some of the new ones. Flat out, it's not as good. So
I mean, the 42 is not that good, and it's basically a repaint of that one. So you're not missing much.
Yeah. So it's just I did a deep dive into the pre-orders, and I cut all those ones out, and then I pre-ordered Mysterio. I mean, that was a no-brainer. No NRD. I mean, it's going to be 2 years before he comes out.
So we failed to mention that it's a ways out. It's what, like June 2021,
July to September 2021.
Ew.
And I know, right? Well, he'll probably come early, but Anyway, then I actually upgraded my stealth suit Spidey to the deluxe and canceled my regular pre-order. And I had a $25 promo code from the Mysterio, and I figured the way that those promo images look with that base and the stealth suit Spider-Man, I like. I don't know. I changed my mind.
Was there an NRD on that one? I couldn't remember.
Nope.
Okay.
Nope,
okay.
there wasn't.
I might do the same thing.
Yeah. So and basically, some of the rewards points that I got back from those other canceled pre-orders, I applied those to that stealth suit Spidey. So I'm, doing almost. I'm almost paying exactly the same as the regular version. But yeah. So then I received Shuri, like you guys, and then. So my method to my madness with the Mark 85 cancellation was that, I had that 7 payments, and when it's broken up that way, it basically freed up my budget to pre-order one Iron Scavenger from Jazz Inc. Dioramas.
I don't have Justin ready to go here, Chris.
No, Justin is not needed. That was a wise decision.
I'll
do it for you.
Yeah, I know. Well, I figured I do like the battle damaged Mark 85 better, and that one's got a longer lead time. So eventually I'll add that to the pre-order list. But yeah, so pretty active collection update. Sorry to all those cancellations, but they had to go. How about you, TT?
Yeah, I'll just go down the list. I also, like you guys have said, I ordered Shuri. I didn't do it through Sideshow. I was just waiting just to see, if I could wait a couple extra days when it went low stock, and I couldn't. So I ended up getting it off Tim Cent, which is still a pretty decent price. I also got Black Panther. From the Black Panther movie. I want to kind of start filling out my Endgame shelf, and those are going to kind of sub in for Endgame releases for the time being. And I had to sell a few figures. I've sold some of my Star Wars stuff because I'm really pretty much focused on Marvel at the moment. And so that includes Chirrut Imwe and Han Solo from The Force Awakens. Those were sold recently. And I also pre-ordered Mysterio. I then canceled Mysterio because Sideshow continues to send me these coupons, and I'm thinking I can use them for the new order, and I plug in the code, and it says it's not eligible. It's already been used. So I'm going to start throwing away those coupons. But so I reordered Mysterio after the fact. There's no NRD, so it didn't cost me anything, but it was just a way to maximize savings, but it didn't work. So I pre-ordered Mysterio, and then I also pre-ordered the Iron Scavenger, just like Chris. So the Vulture. So from Jazz Inc.
is definitely gonna be. Actually, I don't know if I should. Guys, I can talk about this, right?
Yeah.
So Steve is gonna have Eust is gonna be on Is it this weekend, right?
Yes. Saturday.
Saturday. So there's gonna be a special Saturday edition of Scavengers Assemble, and I have a feeling we might get a little bit more inside scoop on what's going on with this. So it's just, for me, I don't have the space. I don't have 4 feet of shelf to give up.
I'm really looking forward to that one, actually. It's interesting because I guess I don't know if it was the fact that I knew Hot Toys, or I had a feeling they were never going to make it, that I kind of didn't get my hopes up. But then when I saw it, I'm treating it as like a diorama, just as it says, as a big complimentary piece. It's going to hopefully kind of watch over all the Spider-Man figures above them and make a nice display out of it on my wall. It's to my left in the office. So I'm looking forward to it. And it's nice because you can set up, I'm on a 9-month payment plan. So it's very manageable. So the upfront costs, I paid shipping up front and then the first payment.
Same with me.
And then I have 8 more payments to go. I believe 8 more payments to go, $50 a month or $55 a month, and it's going to be pretty sweet because it looks like he's kind of using the Hot Toys version as the base, and then he's engineering it himself and doing all the testing himself. It's just cool. I'm just looking forward to that one a lot.
It's going to be a focal point of the collection. My yet to be designed collection room, and I'm gonna set it up in some capacity. But yeah, it's going to be probably the piece. It's basically, instead of a Hulkbuster being the main focal point, it's going to be Vulture and some of these Spider-Man figures. So looking forward to that. And yeah, I butcher his name every time, and I apologize to him through Messenger, but Yost or Used, I'm so sorry. But he said that there's not many English speaking people that can actually pronounce his name properly. So we're not the only ones.
Yost.
But yeah, Yost, it kind of rhymes with toast. But
Steve will probably have been practicing in a mirror.
Oh yeah. I think Roy is joining him, and hopefully
Roy.
Yeah,
we haven't heard from Roy in a while.
Roy, he's so busy. But I think Ryan Smith is going to try to join them as well. So it's going to be a fun off hours kind of Scavengers assemble. So I'll be checking in on that.
Yeah, I think I think Steve's got like 5 weeks in a row. There will be an assemble, so you don't even have to wait like every other Friday. There's some other really cool stuff coming up. So I'll let Steve talk about those. I don't want to steal too much of his thunder here. So yeah, good stuff, TC.
What do you got? What do you got,
Brian?
Oh, all right, here we go.
Let's hear it.
So I'll get to the fun stuff after. All of our Star Wars listeners are waiting with bated breath to find out what I'm up to, and I have a method to my madness. It's going to work this time. And Steve is cackling. All right, a couple things. I also was motivated by my friend Chris here, and really taking a look at budgets and what figures I've got coming in the way, and display and whatnot, and deciding that. I don't think I'm necessarily snake bitten by the whole Spider-Man thing, but I didn't. I know both you guys Chris, you said you upgraded to the deluxe version of the Stealth Suit Spider-Man. I actually canceled that one, and it's only just because it is obviously Peter Parker, it's Spider-Man, but when somebody walks into the room, they're not going to know unless they've seen that movie that's Spider-Man. So I decided to get rid of that one. I want to just keep the upgraded suit from that movie, and I have the 2 other suits already from Homecoming. So I'll probably add that to my Spider-Man shelf that has Mark 47 on it. So I'm pretty good with that. Anybody that's been a long-time listener about the podcast, I've kind of gone back and forth on, having both versions of Captain Marvel and maybe displaying one with a helmet and one without. Again, and part of this, and this will be a figure that I'm probably going to sell soon. It's funny how like all these little things snowball, and we all talk ourselves into this, like what we're going to do. You can actually credit the D23 snafu with Captain America for why I'm actually doing some things with my collection. I'm just like, well, if I'm never going to be able to own that figure because I'm not going to pay the cost for it, I'm not going to have every Captain America figure. And I'm even looking at my shelf here, and I know TCU like to have multiple versions of some figures, and I give you full credit for that. I'm just not sure it's for me. And I'm looking at it, I'm like, I have the same figure on my shelf. One has Wakanda shields and one doesn't. So I think I'm going to end up selling the second standard cap. But long story short, I decided that I'm actually just going to keep the standard Captain Marvel, and I let the pre-order go for the deluxe version just because I won't display it with the leather jacket. I love Goose as side character, but it's just going to be on the bottom shelf of one of my D-tops, and I just decided I could probably just go with just the regular Captain Marvel. So that's there. I did, as I gave my other co-host here, TC, I gave you credit for predicting correctly that I was going to end up with Shuri. So I ordered that. I actually have that in hand, so I'll be able to help Chris with the review. All right, I'm going to keep going here. So again, just looking at some accessories and stuff, deciding can I sell anything. I decided to sell my T'Challa Black Panther head sculpt. I just prefer the helmeted version better. And if I don't, I feel like the head sculpts are an untapped potential of being able to add money to your budget if you're not going to display them. I'd rather get money for them than having sit in a drawer somewhere where I'm not going to display it. So I sold that on eBay and actually went to one of our group members, Eric. So a quick shout out to him. Glad that it went to a scavenger. And last night on 1/6 Republic Buy Sell Trade, I ended up selling my Ant-Man from Civil War that did not have the Scott Lang head sculpt on it, and that sold really quick. And then I decided that I could probably do without my Super MC Toys nano suit, and I sold that minus the Mark Kell head sculpt. I kept that because I figured anybody that's going to want to buy it probably already has that head sculpt anyways. And I did look at it, and I kind of mangled the neck around it, so I don't think I could ever resell it if I wanted to. But like TC, if I ever wanted to display it with on the Mark 50, I can still do that because I didn't get rid of that. All right, so and I'm still not done. I'm like,
and wait,
deep breath. More. But wait, there's more. So Matt and PJ, I'm gonna blame you guys. Just the enthusiasm you both had on the most recent Rogue One 6. I'm like, God, I gotta get back into Star Wars. I mean, just they're talking about the D23 stuff and what's coming and Rise of Skywalker, and I'm like, I still have 3 Star Wars characters left. I didn't get rid of all of them. So I started to think, like, if I wanted to get back into it, like, how could I do it smartly? Because in the past, I had so many Luke Skywalkers and all the Reys and stuff, and it's hard for those movies to display because you can mix and match some of them, but if I keep the same kind of format that I've got for my Marvel stuff, I like to display by like movie or, movies that were around each other, so you can kind of get like, Black Panther, Infinity War, they go really well together. So I started looking at it, and I know some of the figures that have come out recently have been really well received. Like specifically Darth Maul, the DX-16, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darkseid Anakin. I decided to go with all of those 3 figures. And my thought process to this, guys, and I was talking to our buddy Mark ahead of time. There's like this formula I'm going to use to help me make good decisions. Hopefully, I'm going to try not to pre-order anything in advance. I want to see if in the Hong Kong releases it comes out and people think it's a good figure, and then cross-reference that against some of my favorite moments from the saga. So obviously, it's actually fairly prequel heavy now because I want to go for the Duel of Fates. I want to have Maul paired up with Qui-Gon, so I'm going to break my own rule with that and eventually probably order Qui-Gon if it ends up being a good figure. Praying that we get a Padawan Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I think we will. And then I just talking to PJ talking about like Revenge of the Sith being like his second favorite Star Wars movie, and I just knowing that the Battle of Heroes is just so cool. I love that. It's another great lightsaber battle. So that's what I'm going to do. Going forward, I'm just going to be very cautious about it. I'm not going and I'm just buying like tons of figures or trying to replace the figures that I sold previously. But long story short, because it is a very long story at this point with a very long collection update, but there will be some more Star Wars figures to talk about with our feature figure reviews.
That's awesome. There's got to be one of us.
Yeah,
I know. We're such a bad influence on TC. He's getting out of the Star Wars game, and I'm getting back in. So,
well, I mean, it's not. Yeah, I mean, I would like to pick up some of those as well. It's just I know myself, and so like when I get into something, then I know I'm not going to be able to just go with I'll just pick Darth Maul and then Obi-Wan, and then I'll get Qui-Gon and then call it a day. Like I know I'll want more, so I have to kind of keep myself from doing that. But to your point, you don't have to get everything. So that's the great thing about it. You don't need to pre-order. Just wait and see. Those are all great figures. So
it's going to be like more, and not even movie based. It's going to be like more like moment based, like those things that obviously if Star Wars is on TV, you're flipping channels, you're going to stop and watch it. But if you've only got a little bit and you want to kind of go through, like think about like skimming through the movie and you just want to get like the highlights, the main scenes. Those are definitely ones that I would rewatch over and over again and have in the past. So that's what I'm going to go is instead of like even characters or focus collection about certain characters, it's going to be kind of like moments. So I probably won't do anything with Rise of Skywalker until after seeing the film and seeing how I feel about that, and then see what kind of figures might be available. Maybe the Rey and Kylo Ren lightsaber battle is epic enough that that's something I want to pursue. If not, oh well. But so I'm just going to take it very cautious. I'm not really planning on adding anything else, although I'm getting a little tempted about getting the Rey and BB-8 set back, because Big Bad Toy Store has that ridiculous deal still sitting there. But
what's the deal?
So it's the figure base, but you get $150 store credit back, so it ends up being like $140. So for 2 figures, it's a really good deal. And then if you use the store credit for another figure you've got planning out, I mean, you're basically getting it for that 140 there. So
yeah, it's a good deal.
Yeah,
the only bad thing is it's in-house credit, so that's
Yeah.
unfortunate, but you can get around that. You can use it.
All right, I've been seeing all of our comments piling up while I was on my little my tangent there, but I'll see if I can take a peek at them and respond. But let's talk about the episode topic. And Chris, quick shout out to Austin. I see Austin commenting on a ton of our YouTube content, and so thank you, Austin, for number 1, tuning in, and number 2, being part of the conversation. So Chris, you spotted something that he had commented recently you thought would make a good topic for us to talk about here.
Yeah, he was curious to get our opinions and experience purchasing figures pre-owned versus new and sealed. And I thought that would be a great thing to discuss, because both of us have purchased figures both ways. And that's, for somebody that is either coming into this area of collecting, or, maybe they've only bought stuff that was brand new or pre-ordered brand new stuff. It's so weird. Like this area of collecting, something that's mint in sealed box as opposed to opened and displayed, sometimes there's almost no difference price wise. It really depends on the figure and what you're what you're really looking for. And so we're just going to riff off our feelings on this subject. And when you guys got in, did you pick up brand new figures, used figures? How did you feel about that when you started, picking up these Hot Toys, these 6-scale figures?
I mean, TC, you've been collecting longer than both Chris and I, so you've got a little bit more experience with that. But I mean, before I kick it over to you, TC, I would just say in general, I obviously would prefer new. But if it's a figure that I need to get displayed already, or it's been open for inspection and stuff like that, if I know and I feel confident that it's been well cared for, like Chris said, I have a lot of figures now too. For example, I'm going to sell my extra Captain America figure. I literally have not posed it. It's been displayed in climate control environment, basically. Pet free, smoke free. Those are things that your comments and stuff you see on eBay listings and stuff all the time. It's been behind a DTOF. I haven't even posed it at all. Basically, it went from the box onto the shelf, and it's just been sitting there, taking none of the accessories out. I mean, I could put that back in the box, and obviously I would want to list it as displayed, but I mean, somebody getting that, it's going to basically be a brand new figure.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to not be a stickler for this. Like I'd purchased used figures before. I prefer new, like you said, Brian, but I think what changed my opinion was like a year and a half ago, I picked up the Age of Ultron cap used from, I forgot what it was. Maybe it was like 1/6 buy sell trade group, or it was eBay. I can't remember what it was exactly, but I got it, and it kind of, it didn't smell like smoke, but it smelled like it didn't smell like, it's supposed to be scentless. Like it's supposed to have a Hot Toy smell or nothing. It did have like it wasn't like an odor, but I could definitely smell like it was Like,
Guarantee it was stored in a basement.
I can't even find the words. It was like someone was like cooking near it or something.
In, like, I'm pointing the wrong way here.
Maybe someone was like cooking
pointing in
nearby.
No, there we go. It's like there we go. I'm not good at this pointing thing. It's like in this guy's basement over here in the root cellar.
Oh yeah.
No, it wasn't that. It was just like someone was like put their cap on the stove and just started like cooking everything with spices or something nearby. It was very odd. So you don't know where it's coming from. So like if you know, if you have a friend who's selling something to you and you want to buy it used from them and you know that they're a collector like Bryan where they're just going to take it out of the box and put it on a shelf, then sure. But I do prefer it new, sealed in box, because I know how I'm going to display it, how I'm going to take care of the figure. I don't really want to think about what happened to the figure before. So I do prefer new figures. But that's not always possible, and there's a risk. You know, like the risk to that is you could have a manufacturing defect, and then you're screwed if you buy it when it's out of production.
Yeah, that would be a total bummer, especially if you bought something like a Mark 47, you know, and you get it, and like, you know,
there's like a paint scratch right across the face mask or something. Yeah,
it would. But and that's a risk for sure. It's unlikely.
Yeah,
but it is one. But yeah, I haven't bought too many used figures lately. I bought a lot of used figures last year when I first started out, and I didn't really have any issues. There was a couple, maybe a couple little accessories here and there that weren't perfect, but I don't know. It's a funny thing. You definitely have to make sure you ask questions. If it's an eBay listing and not all the information's there, or try to ask for more pictures and that sort of thing if the pictures aren't the best. But yeah, it's tough too when it's a hot figure and you're on OSR, BST, and people are just jumping on the figures. Sometimes you don't have time to ask a question if it's a figure you're gunning for. But
I think this kind of came up, not this topic, but Zach from Collecting Weekly. So it's another podcast. Quick plug, Collecting Weekly. Watch their podcast. But they were talking about how people were posting pictures in some groups with like them doing things in different rooms, just doing weird things with figures. I don't know if they're in the bathroom with them or something. It was just odd. I don't want that history for my figure. I want it to be from the factory to the box to my home. I don't have to think about that.
We need the Hot Toys, the Carfax for the Hot Toy.
Yeah, exactly. We need that. Third-party reviewer. Send everything to Bryan's house. He'll inspect it and he'll ship it out to you for a fee.
Hey, that's a booming business right there. Let's think about that. You know, instead of grading comic books, we'll grade Hot Toy figures.
I don't know how good a Hot Toys box would look in acrylic, but no, it's
Stan Lee.
Yeah, right. Yeah, he does come in plastic, but
Chris, you're from the vintage collecting world, so for you're used to buying a lot of loose figures, used figures. So,
yeah, it's for me coming into the Hot Toys collecting arena. It was very strange, but the whole pre-ordering thing and you're not out hunting for stuff, for the most part, physically. You're just searching the web, but. Yeah, the vintage stuff, obviously, if you're looking at condition is everything with stuff that's open and loose, and price is considerably lower the more messed up they are. And I don't know, you don't really see, other than people parting out stuff, you don't really see crazy worn out figures because they're not meant to play with. They're meant to pose and take pictures of. So you don't really see those ones that are totally mangled. But I don't know. It's really, it comes down to like, what are you willing to take the risk? for a decreased price. But even a lot of the time, some of these used figures, it doesn't really matter. Like a used Mark 47 or a Mark 46 or a Mark 6 or Mark 5.
It doesn't matter.
We're going to pay a ridiculous amount of money for them.
Yeah, my example's the 0.000%, 001%. So I mean, I'm just giving some extremes. So you're right. I mean, you buy a used figure 99 times out of 100, it's as described. So I would feel confident as long as you're confident in the seller. But I just prefer new. Sometimes it's not available.
Yeah, like a couple of the Iron Man figures I've gotten that I had to get used. The 45 I got came as described. I got the 42 and I got that used. That was in good condition. A lot of the arrangement of how I would display the figure, I had to take a lot of the forearm stuff pieces off because it was basically set up as like the battle damage version, and I wanted the clean version. The 47 that I repurchased, that was used exactly as it looked brand new. The 5 I got was technically used, looked brand new. The 3 I got, that was in really good condition. And then like the 4, the 2, the 6, and a lot of the other things I actually have gotten new. So I've lucked out. I mean, Iron Man, the diecast figures, you can sometimes see like little pieces and stuff fall off, but it's funny because you could even have a brand new figure. I think the Mark 1 War Machine I got, actually, I don't think it was. I don't think it was new sealed. I can't remember. I should be able to remember. This has only been a couple months ago. But it's funny because like there's just like the knee pad kind of pops out occasionally. You can put it back in, it displays fine, but with some of the older figures, I mean, you're just going to run into some of the glue. Just sometimes is going to go. That's an easy fix. It's not like I wouldn't deem that to be a product defect, like a big scratch across the chest plate or the face plate or something. That's a little bit different.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these figures behind me, I bought them. They're still sealed, but like Drax right there, he was opened, but he couldn't, like literally could not even tell that he was open and posed. Over here, that's what's his name? Nick Fury from Winter Soldier. He was opened, and you could tell because his clothes and everything were kind of disheveled a little bit, but just it didn't look, there's nothing actually wrong with the figure. But it's just, for me, starting out, it was really about, some of these figures were pretty good prices, and I jumped on them, and they're characters that I wanted to start off with and add to the collection. But
I would say like I know the pricing it's fairly close between new and then mint and seal box and then out of the box. It's not like there's not a huge gap, but I would say on average there is a premium for a new figure sealed in the box that's out of production, out of print. So if you do buy it used, you're taking off that premium right off the gate because you're likely going to take it out of the box anyway and display it. So you then eliminate that minor financial hit of just opening the box. So that's a positive for buying a used figure. It's kind of like buying a used car. You take off that brand new day one premium off the car. So,
I mean, TC, you mentioned a good point too. Like on eBay, like I don't mind if somebody lists it. Sometimes you'll see people listed as new. Some people will list it as used, but all they've said is they've opened for inspection. To me, that they've opened it for inspection and still willing to sell it, you almost remove those factory defects from the equation. So that I don't mind, depending on like the cost or what I'm looking for. And I'm not really hunting for anything old at this point, but yeah, it's a good topic. We could talk about this for a lot longer. I know we got to get to the audio, or no, actually not even audio review. You're going to do the video review now too for Shuri, and I'm sure we will broach this subject again. But Austin, hopefully this helps you out a little bit, and kind of the three of us scavengers of how we would approach that. And there's things, and a lot of if you go back a couple minutes ago when we were talking about the things to ask, like pet, if you're concerned about pet hair or anything, that's the question to ask. Smoke free, make sure you ask that. how it's displayed. Is it open air or is it behind glass? Is it exposed to direct sunlight? If you're like my cave here, the blinds stay shut all the time. My wife makes fun of me because I don't let her open the windows. I just don't want sunlight coming in. I mean, it's a room on the second floor that faces the sun for a good chunk of the day. So it's, yeah.
Bryan will turn to stone if the sun comes in.
Yeah, there he is. We lost him. One more tip is if it's any figure that has batteries, and if the batteries have been installed, and
that's a big one.
And so this is the thing. I got the Mark III diecast, and
the story.
So, all right. And I realized there's no battery. Like, it comes with a little battery tray and stuff, and there's no batteries in there. And I'm like, huh. I had never asked. And it's on me for not asking. But I opened up the batteries, and every single one of them was starting to corrode.
Oh gosh, I'm knocking my mic down over here. Disappointment.
Yeah, but thankfully it didn't like seep into the figure, into the compartments, but every one of the batteries had corrosion starting on it, and I was just like, oh my God. And it's just one of those things you got to ask. You got to ask if the batteries have been installed, and it's better if they haven't, honestly.
That's sad. I'm really sad.
Yeah.
Disappointing.
I know.
All right, guys. Good stuff there. So, Austin, hopefully that helps you out. And again, first and foremost, thanks for tuning in. All right, guys. It is that time to talk about our feature figure review. Chris and I have this in hand, and I have, for those on YouTube, I have some of the photos to share from when Hot Toys released this. So we'll get right into it. So this is Shuri from Black Panther MMS501, retail for $228, currently on waitlist open on Sideshow. The status on Big Bad Toy Store is to be determined. But I think given some of the early buzz on this figure, people raving about the head sculpt of Lolita Wright, I think Letitia. Yeah, I guess I should zoom in a little bit further on my iPad here. Thanks for being a good co-host, bud.
Yep.
I would have added that out afterwards either, too.
It's 10:45. It's okay.
Yeah, I know we're all on the East Coast here. East Coast time, Eastern Standard Time. So anyways, this was up for pre-order July 13th, 2018. And the Hong Kong release of this was August 2nd, 2019. So just a little over a year. And this one, Chris, was this pushed back? I feel like it was pushed back. Or was this always going to be an August release?
I think it was always August release.
Yeah, that makes sense. Because, I mean, usually they'll give at least 12-month lead time for some of these figures.
Yep. She was a dopo for me. She was
third time's a charm.
Yeah, I know. No, she's just one of those shining stars in Black Panther, and it's great that Hot Toys gave us this figure to mix up the figure lineup. You know, she's got quite a unique aesthetic, and it really adds to all the different figures and that sort of thing. And yeah, she's like I was saying, great character. And Hot Toys, man, this head sculpt is right up there as one of the best that they've ever done, in my opinion, for a human head sculpt. So I don't know. What are your guys' initial impressions and stuff?
Yeah, it's funny. What I've got on the screen here too was the pre-production shots. And Chris, I don't know if you think the same way, but I feel like they improved on I feel like this is one of those rare times where the final product actually exceeds what we thought we were going to get from head sculpt. I feel like it could be just the lighting on this photo that we're looking here too, but I feel like they I think they got her face even better, and I think they tightened up. I don't think the skirt thing that she has on is probably a little bit long too, but I think like they changed the color of that a little bit. And I just it's a good figure. It's a good figure.
Yeah, I do agree. The final product is I think it does look better. I mean, it's all about the lighting, but yeah, they really nailed her likeness, and I think having the extra details with her the chin guard and the the dots on her face really add to that, because she's a young girl, and like Matt's kind of noted, some of the younger female head sculpts kind of look Barbie-ish because there's not a lot of skin detail to go on, but she's got a great look. And I mean, look at BG Toy Art there.
I thought this was Christopher James Letty.
Oh yeah, that's totally me.
Well, you got the new house, so you can set up a little studio.
You're right.
You start practicing.
Let's talk accessories before we get into talking aesthetics about the figure. So it comes with a spear. That's pretty cool. As our buddy Jeff Morris would say, the kitty gauntlets.
Yeah.
So I was kind of a little gripe. I think you can put batteries in these. I haven't done that so that they light up. So one cool thing to note, yes, there's the kitty gauntlets right there. The one cool thing to note is you don't have to worry. The hands are already grabbing the handles on the inside, and you peg in with the wrist. Chris, I don't know if you found this at all, but I found it extremely difficult to line up the wrist peg, blindly putting it in the kitty gauntlet there, and the vibranium blaster. I don't know. The kitty gauntlet sounds cool too. But the actually, what's the official? They do call it the vibranium gauntlets. So I found that to be a little bit difficult. I should know what those the Kimoyo beads. We talked about that. That's how we rated the Black Panther figure way back, and the stand and the variety of hands and stuff. I think if you don't have the gauntlets on it, the wrists do look a little funky. And Chris, one thing that you noted, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, but the seamless arms are a little weird. Yes. Now it's hard to, like, they're not, like, it's kind of like angled out a little bit. And then I think the one thing I do like is it's not it doesn't go from her shoulder blades down to the arms. The arms with the way that her like the corset or the shirt or whatever she's wearing, like at the where the they peg in, there's a little bit of a gap, so you have to kind of move the arm around just so you don't see it on display. The way I have it is holding up both of those vibranium gauntlets. You don't really notice it, but I think those are a couple things that those are kind of like my nitpicky things about the figure.
Yeah, I'd agree. The arms, when she's got the gauntlets on and she's got her bicep bracelets there, I
haven't installed those yet. Oops.
Yeah, and I realized I installed mine on upside down on each arm, but oh well, it is what it is. I don't really want to try to fit these gauntlets back on, but it is a little bit tricky lining those up, and then pushing on that foam rubber arm, like on the elbow, to get it to pop into place was a little bit was a unique experience there. And the shoulder joints, it's funny because, like, mine on the side, I don't know if I'll be able to get it in here, but like the armor, her shoulder armor, or it kind of pushes down on the material and it like kinks it, so it looks a little bit funky from the side. And then the other thing is, in certain lighting, the seam, there's like a production seam down the whole side of her arm, and it's pretty visible in the certain light. But with her arms and the gauntlets on there, and the arm bracelets and everything, it's you're able to kind of take the eye away from some of those minor imperfections or styling choices that, or manufacturing choices that Hot Toys took to make this figure. But she's just as far as accessories, and I think she's got the right amount of accessories for the character. And like, I don't plan on really, I might try lighting these up to see what they look like. I popped the cover off the gauntlet. It's pretty straightforward with the screwdriver. But it does look cool with those lit up. But yeah, she's I mean, the flexibility and get into that. She's pretty posable. She's got kind of the suit. I don't know. What do you think? Is it similar to like the Spider-Man?
No, I don't think it's the same material.
I'm trying to figure out what it's not. It feels a little bit thicker than the Black Panther material, but it might be kind of along the same lines as.
I think you hit it on the hit it on the head. I think that's the material that it is, Chris.
Yeah, it's just it feels a little bit different because of the decorative inlays and that sort of thing that she's got going on. But she, like, some of the pictures have some of the promo images and that sort of thing. You can get her in some cool poses, and
I mean, the one I've got on the screen right now is crazy. With bending down and having the the leg tucked under.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's crazy. Just going through and just showing some of the detail. I mean, obviously, I love grabbing some of the professional photographers that Hot Toys shows on launch day when they release a figure in Hong Kong. BG Toy Art and just some of the others. I mean, they just make this figure look incredible. I mean, here's doing the Wakanda pose. And kind of the way that they angled it, Chris, I don't think you're going to see that elbow seam that you talked about. So I think it's all in just how you you grab that. But I mean, every one of these it looks awesome. I mean, I think preference wise, I prefer her with the vibranium gauntlets than
totally having
the spear. I mean, the spear is cool. I mean, here's one that you kind of see. The angles, the wrists are very pronounced, and this is with the Kimoyo beads here, and here's with with the spear. I'm looking at my figure now, and I'm like, I totally forgot to put those the bicep bracelets on, so that'll be something I add to my collection. So before I get going here, I want to quick shout out. Zach from Collecting Weekly popped in, just say hi. So what's going on? Thanks for tuning in.
The one thing I would say, oh, sorry, Chris.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
There are two things that kind of stand out to me. First is the hair detail. The fact that Hot Toys kept the detail from proto to production is amazing. Because if you look at like a figure like the Black Panther, they didn't paint the hair on him as they did the prototype. But her, there's no detail lost on that. The one negative I don't like about the figure is I think the knees look a little odd in some pictures. The double jointed knees. I don't know. I guess the body type is they seem like a little low. They seem kind of like just a little wonky in some pictures, in my opinion. But
I think it's just like the design that she has there.
Yeah.
It's not, you would think that it's where her knee is, and it's not. And I think that's why it's kind of this illusion where it looks odd.
It's like that with the Jyn Erso figure from Rogue One. It just looks a little off, but yeah, I mean, it's awesome. I mean, like you guys said, the head sculpt's amazing, and all the technology in it. Yeah, it's hard to find real complaints.
So Hot Toy Junkie just piped in, and I thanks for the reminder here. We're talking about the height. I know this was something that when the figure was first released, that people had some concerns about that. I don't know if I've talked about it before too. There is the height that an actor or actress is in real life, and then within the Marvel Cinematic Universe, they do different things to make people have different heights. Like Robert Downey Jr. famously had taller shoes and stuff on, so he was taller than he really was. He's actually, Robert Downey Jr. is the same height as Mark Hamill, and you wouldn't really notice that in watching the films and stuff. So, Chris, I think the actress that played Shuri was 5'5", and I want to say Chadwick Boseman was what, 5'10", 5'11"?
Yeah, I think
so.
That's the difference.
When I surprisingly don't have them on the same shelf here, but I mean, I don't think it's so egregious that like Hot Toys like really screwed the pooch on this one. I think that it works fine. I think anybody that has a nitpicky thing about the height of the figure, to me, it looks fine. It's not like completely out of scale where it looks so off that you can't look at the figure and think like, gosh, this is too short.
Yeah, I mean, nobody would know unless you had a picture. I don't know. It is a nitpicky thing. And I don't, if it is, if you have a problem with the height of the figure, I mean, the figure, the quality of, the rest of the figure outweighs any issues that I would have with a height difference. If she was like as tall as Thor and, she was supposed to be, a shorter character, I mean, that would be a huge problem. But yeah, I mean, the height, I'm not going to, I mean, maybe Hot Toys didn't have the information they needed when they were developing it or whatever. They just took some liberties as far as the character heights. But you're right. The actors are always portrayed taller than they are in real life. But yeah, no, there's just a great figure.
TC, any final questions for Chris or I before we get to rate this thing?
No, I think you guys summed it up quite nicely. It looks great, and looking forward to hearing your review. Let's get to it.
All right, Chris.
With a rating.
I think in honor of our friend Jeff here, I think we got to rate this on kitty gauntlets.
Perfect. I love it.
All right, I'll let you go first.
Okay. For me, this was a heavily anticipated figure for my collection, just because of she just adds that variety to the lineup, and so I mean, I was just wanted this figure really bad. So for me, a rating, I mean, I'm probably at, God, I'm gonna put it at 4.75 because just some of the issues that the technical issues with the shoulder joints and wrist joints and that sort of thing, but kind of detract a little bit. But yeah, she's right out there. I mean, if you're just going off head sculpt alone, I mean, her head sculpt's 5 out of 5 kitty gauntlets. But yeah, how about you?
Great minds think alike. I was almost like, for the first time in 30 episodes, I was thinking of doing like a separate review for the head sculpt versus the figure, but that would be cheating. So for me, I think it's like a 4 or 5. Mm-hmm. I think what kind of puts it kind of in the middle for me is obviously the pro is definitely the head sculpt. It's one of the best. I mean, I'm not saying anything that anybody hasn't said before. For me, the arms, I don't, but then again, I don't really know what they could have done differently. I mean, like we led off with they're just the way that they're kind of, and it may be just the way that they shipped or the way that the standard, default, like just laying at the side was just, it looked a little weird. You opened your figure first before I did, and I kind of had that in the back of my mind as I was opening it. So I had that. It's super annoying to get the kitty gauntlets on. I mean, for me, I don't know what you can do. It's not like they're not see-through, so you can't figure exactly where they're going to be. But it took me a good 5-10 minutes to get those on. And I mean, It is what it is. I mean, some of the things that we do for hot toy collectors are kind of infuriating and frustrating, or changing hands or any of that other thing. So it's not uncommon to this figure. But I guess in closing is, if you liked Black Panther, if you like the character of Shuri, and like me, I struggled between thinking, is she an integral part of the MCU versus a background character? And ultimately, I think it just decided, I mean, she's going to be part of what they're doing going forward, whether she ends up taking over as the Black Panther at some point. Letitia Wright, she exudes charisma. She just is funny. And I just love the head sculpt here. It's like, I have mine tilted down just slightly. And even with a very stoic look, there's just a lot of attitude there. Mm-hmm. So I have to commend Hot Toys for that. So I'm going to go with a 4 or 5. I thought about 4.75, but I think if you're on the fence about the figure, I think you go get it. I don't know at this early juncture if this is going to be Yondu 2.0. I think people always want it to be like the next thing. And sometimes it's just not. Those things are created in a vacuum in certain things, and we've talked about the scarcity of the Yondu figure at length, because not really a lot of people pre-ordered it, and it turned out to be fantastic. So time will tell.
Yeah. And it's funny, like those type of situations, it's the community adapts and goes with the flow. And so I don't know, like you said, in a vacuum, there was just this period in time where some of the figures just didn't quite get the attention. And I feel like the last couple of years with Marvel, starting with Black Panther Endgame, getting into all these huge movies, I think a lot more people are aware, and they're attuned to the Hot Toys figures, and the box art is awesome with this figure. It's work of art right there. Gotta give those artists the love too, because they put in just as much work.
It's funny, and this could be like maybe our next topic for our next episode too, but I feel like there's more people talking about, I feel like the community has grown in the last couple of years, even since Yondu was released.
Yeah.
I mean, we started after that. I mean, the Mint and Sealed Box guys, Justin, Zachary, those guys, they started kind of probably around the same time we did. I know Collecting Weekly has been they were around a little bit longer, and I think they had like a hiatus and came back. So there's multiple outlets. There's a lot of people out there. There's something for everybody in this collecting community. We all have different styles and stuff. We love anybody that loves to tune into us. And we also hope that, because the hot toy community is so small, that people are checking out the other content and stuff out there and find something that works for them. I mean, we're here. We're not pretending to be experts. We're welcoming, and we're just hanging out talking about toys. I mean, that's the premise of our podcast, of our YouTube channel.
Yeah, no, that's it. I mean, there are a lot of outlets, and it's definitely grown in the last year and a half or so, and it's good to hear a lot of different voices, and so we'll just we'll keep seeing how things roll with the Hot Toys community.
Great review. Good job, guys.
Another good figure, man.
Absolutely.
All right. That is going to do it for episode 30. So we're going to get into plug time. So got the graphic up on the screen. You're watching on YouTube or listening to our podcast feed. We've got our website, sixscalescavengers.com, this YouTube channel. So please subscribe. It really helps us out, and you get notified anytime we drop our new content. We're trying to be a little bit more we're trying to stick to every other Wednesday for this show, every other Friday for Scavengers Assemble. Now that PJ, the Paradox Nerd, is lending help to Rogue One 6, I think we're going to start seeing a more regular release for that. You got a little bit more Star Wars chat here tonight. You're going to start getting a little bit more Rogue One 6 is definitely the way to go. So check out that most recent episode if you haven't. It's a long one. I think it was like 2.5 hours. I think Matt had a lot of editing to do with that. Currently, right now, if you pop over to our TeePublic store, I think there's like a 35% off sale going on for like 48 hours. If you jump in and you grab a t-shirt, we get a small portion of that sale. It helps us with our hosting fees. Yes, I've got the Scavengers Assemble shirt on. Chris has got his vintage viewport, and looks like TC's got the logo, the Scavengers, the OG logo.
Yeah.
Well, not quite the OG. That's the Roy save of my hack job in the beginning. So, and kudos to Roy for all the work that he does there. We have a couple other ideas in the pipeline, but as we talked about, I mean, Roy is just super busy at this point. So anytime we can get a little bit of time with him to work on stuff, I mean, we're all doing this for fun. We're not making money off this. It's just to help cover some costs, and we do it because we love it. I mean, that's why we're doing it. We've got our Facebook page. We've got our Instagram, the private group, Six Scale Scavenger Collectors that I mentioned. Answer the questions so we know that you're a listener. And Apple Podcasts, Google Play, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, and sixscalescavengers.libsyn.com is where you can find this podcast.
Well, we went a little more than an hour.
An hour and a half. I told you guys I'd like to go for an hour, and
we shouldn't even have that discussion anymore.
We should.
It's like the same thing every time. Hour and a half, hour and a half, hour and a half.
We're consistent by going over, but another great conversation, guys. Look forward to what's coming up on the network with a special Scavengers Assemble this Saturday, and we'll see which figure will be the next feature figure review.
Yeah, quick shout and thank you to everybody that we had about anywhere from 15 to 20 people tuning in live, and we tried showing some people's YouTube comments up on the screen so that you won't hear that on the audio format, but you will if you watch us back on YouTube. So, TC, any final thoughts?
No, I'll just give a quick plug. You guys should also tune into Collecting Weekly. I've got the little sticker in my hand for those watching the video. Zach and Dean are the hosts of that podcast. Great couple of guys. They've got another show called Small Talk. I believe it's hosted by Damian Dillon and I think PJ Rilova, and then another one of their signature logos.
Certified Crispy.
That's right. And I'll just give one shout out as well, to not a shout out, but a plug for this little shirt. Got this from Christopher James Letty himself. I got one of the original prototypes of the 6 Scale Scavenger 6 Scale t-shirt.
First person on the team.
I'm going to outfit this on, I don't know, maybe a
team to get one besides Chris. So you got one even before I did.
It's nice. It's good quality. Some good quality cotton.
He's such a good clothier, and I was listening to the most recent Assemble, and I just pictured Chris out with his 1/6 iron,
iron on it. I haven't tried looking for one.
Only the finest from the root cellar in New Hampshire.
All right, this is going off the rails here quick, so we're gonna end it here. So Chris, bring us home, my friend.
Excelsior.